definitive. I mean, the guard Baral, she was able to determine. She came out 4 days per attack. Well, between the attacks, and the travel time is 1 day. So I mean, everything is kind of perfect.
Yeah,
And all
Travel
these
time.
attacks are, 1 day away from Flan, 2 days away from Flan, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, but the attacks happen all 4 days. So in 2 days, there will be one other place attacked that is probably within a day's travel from here, and then 4 days after that, then Flan's on the map. Flan's the next thing in line to be attacked. So, yeah, nothing's being done by the Black Fist. The council's not doing anything. They're just really paying no heed to the warning.
And the travel time is 1 day by land, right?
1 day by land, yes, on horseback, correct.
Which would be significantly less than a day by sea.
4
So
days, I see.
It's 4 days by sea, but the travel time by sea is less than a day. Has to be.
Maybe even traveling on land, it would take 4 days to get to the next destination. So something's definitely weird. You know what I mean? But the times are all lining up.
All right. So we're going to head to Mr. Wondercondoodle.
Yeah, have a look at his bones and see what he's found out.
Wonder
Right.
Condoodle, I love it.
I think it's heavy on the con. Wonder Con Doodle.
Yeah, Wonder Condoodle. All right, so you guys get to Philstrom's establishment, and there is a wooden board outside of the establishment that's, basically displaying a hand that's hanging over with a bunch of flowers and stuff under the sign, boxes of flowers. It looks really, really, really unorganized, much like the way that the graveyard and the temple was. This place is just absolutely looks like a bomb went off inside of it. So the wooden board, it's saying Philstrom's Wonder Canoodles, sagery, and then there's all kinds of. I mean, there's just boxes of flowers, dead flowers all over. It's a very small storefront. Even in the windows, there's just boxes stacked up where you can barely even see inside.
This is a place that we would just normally walk in, or do we? Not?
Yeah, the door's definitely open. It
Right.
smells like dirt. It smells like some flowers and whatnot. You guys walk in, and it is completely a mess inside, like I said, and you can actually see over a couple of stacks of boxes that kind of make a wall. You can see a balding head kind of moving behind it. Where you see the crown of his hair, and he's kind of got the very light comb over. You know what I mean? It's a gnome that pops out from behind the boxes, and he says, "Hey, welcome to Philstrom's, and I'm Philstrom, Wonder Condoodle. What do you need?" Like I said, he's balding, limp hair kind of over on one side, and he's kind of pulling herbs and some other flowers out of a small couple of baskets from a couple of boxes, and he's putting into another basket, sort of looks like an Easter basket that he's carrying. And he's kind of sizing you guys up, man.
So Markesh didn't walk inside the building. He's going to let the rest of these guys take care of this one.
Evening, Philstrom. Pleased to meet you. I believe you
Welcome! And he kind of spins around, in slow motion. And he goes, "I've got all kinds of books. I've got all kinds of healing herbs. I've got all kinds of everything that you need, and including consultations for 5 silver.
Do you have magical gnomish spoons?
Magical gnomish spoons? Nope, never heard of them. Next
Darn
question. That was the freebie. So the consultations are 5 silvers, but what did you want, sir?
I believe you were brought recently some bones to check over and look at. I wonder if you could give us any details about these bones.
Bones? Never heard of them.
Let us have a look.
Bones, don't even know what you're talking about.
I just grumble from the outside and throw 5 silver his way.
Oh, that's right.
I'll
Those
hand you 5
bones.
silver.
Yeah, sorry about that, friends. My memory was a little bit cloudy. You know, smelling these flowers all day kind of gets to me a little bit. So yes, I remember the bones that the guard. Yeah, one of the Blackfist guards. She brought it in. Boy, she was kind of she was mean. Well, anyways.
What have you managed to determine about these bones?
Well,
Are they any special properties of what type of creature they're from?
well, they're come on back, come in, please make yourself at home. And he's kind of pushing stuff away, so you guys can get through, and you guys come back to this. Actually, it's a cleared area, but it's still a mess. I mean, there's just shit everywhere. And he says, "Yeah, take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat."
Sit down.
All right.
Have a seat.
I don't. I stand up towards the entrance of the building, or as soon as further away from sitting down at the middle of everything.
Okay. He's got all kinds of herbs and whatnot that are, lining the walls that are basically drying, and he sits down. He takes the coins that you had give him, Markesh, and he puts them in a little box that he has sitting on the chair beside. Then he picks it up, and then he just kind of tosses it behind him in like a box filled with a bunch of rags and whatnot. And then he pulls that seat out and says, sit down. So whoever doesn't have a seat has a seat now. So he says, well, I was able to determine that the bones that night brought, well, that mean lady, boy, she was just absolute. She had the personality of a venomous snake. But I did find out that they were toe bones, probably from an adult human. They were pretty old, but they were stained, where the muscle and the tissue and all the skin that attaches to the bone, they were stained there. And here, I'll even show them to you. So he gets up and slams his chair back, goes over to a chest that's on the wall. He flings open the chest and starts kind of throwing things around, and he goes, nope, not there, not here. And he goes, here they are, and he takes the jar that they're in, and he rattles them, sort of like zombie dice or something like that. You would hear something like this. Here's zombie dice. Here they are. As he puts them down and kind of slams them down on the table, and he goes, these are the culprits. So you guys have these bones in front of you. Boy,
I'm gonna inspect them.
being quiet tonight. Boy, everybody jump in. Anybody else? You guys jump in if you want.
Yeah, we'll have a look. See if you can see anything particular about them, anything out.
Yeah, they
Out
just
the
like,
ordinary.
yeah, just as as the gnome says, Philstrom says that they are human bones. He goes, here's the culprits. And they just look like normal toe bones. They're in a glass jar. And he kind of pushes them over towards you guys. And then he says that, well, the guard told me that that these things were on some kind of, I guess you could say, some kind of string or something like that. And I think these things were around maybe as a trinket or something like that. It was kind of hard to determine. She was really vague with everything. You can see a couple of holes in these, and he shows you that there's a couple of holes. And so I'm actually kind of assuming that maybe these were maybe used as trinkets, or maybe beads of a necklace or whatnot. I remember the guard said something about maybe they were found on a corpse or something. I don't know. She was so mean, I just kind of ignored her. She was actually really mean. But I am able to determine that there are 3 different
people. Yeah, I guess you could say there's 3 different sets of toes here. Sorry, these poor guys are missing their toes. Their feet are probably cold.
I start tapping a spoon against the bones and listening to the sound they make.
So you're like opening it up, and he goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Don't touch him with your hands, man! You can
I'm
ruin
not. I'm
those.
touching them with the spoon. See?
Those things are priceless." And he takes out a box, and he gives you this dirty, nasty, really light cloth glove, and he says, "Handle those bones with some gloves for Pete's sake. You're gonna ruin those things. You just can't." Anything from antiquity like that, you just can't touch that. You're going to ruin it. Respect history. Jeez.
Shin would like to make a medicine check to see if that anything I find out jives with what he's saying.
Sure, you can give me a medicine check. Yeah. You look at him. You break out. A little. He's got like a little seeing glass as well. You put the glove on. And he's yeah. Definitely. Toe bones. You can tell that they're from 3 different individuals as well.
I kind of perked up when he said that they're priceless. I'll inquire if we plan to go investigate these happenings of attacks. Should we find more bones, what do they go for these days?
Well, they're really not worth anything. I mean, maybe if you brought back a cool dragon skull or something, or maybe the tusk of a big old animal, maybe like a boar, or maybe the spine of a dire wolf or something. That would be really cool. But when I mean money, I mean it's priceless to connoisseurs of history and knowledge. But you're not going to be able to go into the equipment store and say, "Hey, buddy, can I buy some toe bones? How much are they a piece?" I'm not talking that kind of value. I'm talking about the value of history, and that is priceless. Jeez, Louise.
Did you determine?
Summarily roll my eyes.
Everything with you adventurers are kicking a door and money. How much is this worth? And let's just kill stuff and ask questions later. Boy, you guys are just
How old are these bones? Are they quite old, or are they recent bones that have been stripped? I think they're kind of still fresh. They got like moisture in them, or are they completely dried out? Are they good 4 or 5 years old?
That's actually a really good question. What's your name, by the way? It seems like you kind of respect history a little bit more than this half-orc does.
Yes, please speak. My name's Kalash. It's just intrigued that where the person that had these bones before the sergeant brought them in, where they would retrieve them from. Are they something that they're taking from their spoils as they go and stripping them so they're kind of all fresh bones? Or are they bones that have been collected over years and they're all dried out and they're brittle, so they're not going to be from anybody recently?
That's a good question, Kalash. And you know what? It's nice to meet you, Kalash. And where are you from? You got a really neat accent. You're not from around here, are you?
Just from across the Moon Sea, from Hillsfar.
Oh, okay. I've never met anybody from. I'll have to mark that down in my logbook. I've got a logbook up by the front door, so on your way out, just go ahead and put a signature in where you're from. I always like to kind of go in there once in a while and look at, and just kind of reflect at the visitors that come in. But anyways, I'm Philstrom, and it's nice to meet you, Kalash. But that's a great question, because see all of these stains on the toes? That's because all of the tissue and skin was on there for quite a while, and it deteriorated naturally over time. It wasn't taken back. It wasn't any kind of magic that was summoning the bones of the dead or anything. So these bones are actually quite old. I would probably say at least maybe a couple 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, anything like everything was naturally decaying off of the bone. Great question.
They're not from recent victims, so that's good to know. That's
a good question.
Old collection.
I'd give you an inspiration, but you already have 3, Kalash. You're hoarding them.
With his not when he's talking about the bloodstains or the logbook, I'm gonna make the comment that I'll get a head start on that logbook and meet y'all when you're ready and start heading toward the front.
Oh, thanks for... I'm sorry about that, Mr. Half-Orc, but yeah, fill the log out. Yeah, go for it.
As I'm filling that log out, I will be investigating or kind of see if I can roll a perception to kind of check to see if there's anything worth of value at or near the logbook.
Like any kind of like valuable items or anything like that by the logbook?
Information or valuable.
Sure.
I would like to look through the logbook to see who's been in here before.
Sure.
Probably within the last 4 days.
Okay. There's, as of, let's see, just a bunch of random names. Most of the visitors are from Flan. You know, there's a couple of guards. You can see that several of the acolytes have been in and whatnot. But you don't think it was probably to seek counseling or anything.
Was it just Knight Burl that came in here?
Yeah, there's the most recent guard, yes, Knight Burl, yes. But there are some other knights. No, just her. It was just her.
And then anything of perceived value.
If you're kind of looking around, there's a pair of shears, like cutting shears for cutting plants. There's a couple of those. There's like a small little, a couple small glass vials, a couple of boxes of these bands that he wraps around the herbs to hang them upside down and whatnot, and then he puts the bands on hooks and stuff. Nothing really of any kind of value. Probably the ledger book itself and the wooden stand that it's on is probably worth the most out of everything. So
before I leave, I'll do a nature check on the herbs. Anything useful that I would know from the herbs?
They just look like a bunch of weeds to you.
And I
You're
walk
like,
out.
what has this guy got all this crap for in here? Is pretty much. This guy's a hoarder. I am not a hoarder, and I heard that. No.
As I'm like thumbing things and like looking at them, going, this is all fucking useless, and just say it under my breath, but loud enough for them to hear back there as I walk out.
So the bones don't, they just look like bones. They've got, like he had said, Philstrom shows you these holes that they'd probably be, put on string for necklaces and what stuff, stuff like that. Trinkets, maybe wearing them around their wrist or anything like that.
He said, hey, do any of you know magic?
No, a little bit. Why do you ask?
Because maybe you can tell if they radiate some type of magic. Because I've done all of the investigation that I could do.
That'd be a very good question.
Yeah, that would be.
I take it you've not done anything like that.
Excuse me.
So I'll start doing some chalks out and start doing a ritual for detect magic.
Sure, he's infatuated. He's just kind of staring you down. And he's asking you, how do I do this? Where do you get that from? Where do you get this from? What do I do? How do I do this? Oh, he's just like driving you batshit crazy.
Just completely blanking him out while I'm doing this, full concentration on doing the ritual. And it's almost like completely zoned out.
Sure.
If he gets to the point where he's completely over the top, I might have to scare him into being quiet for a little while.
Shin will try to distract him while he's preparing for his ritual. Asking him questions like, has he ever seen any of these types of bones before? What does he think they could be used for? Why does he think they would have holes in them? Does possibly for like a shaman or anything like that?
Well, it's possible. Like I already said,
and he kind of reaches up and knocks on your head.
Didn't you just hear me that I said that they were part of being probably on a string for necklaces or something? You're a big guy.
And he stands up on the table and he's knocking on your head. Hello, is anybody in there?
They were necklaces. Yeah.
So you get your ritual going, and he's entertaining you, Shin, and he's basically just telling you that they're probably ornamental, and there's Probably kobolds, because they love to hold. Maybe kobolds or maybe orcs or something. Maybe goblins, because they, love to have, these bones showing a sign of status. Maybe of maybe they killed these guys. Maybe they killed them a gruesome death. Maybe they cut off their feet as they were alive, and then they just kind of let the feet petrify as they hung them around their neck or something. I don't know what they did, but
As people are talking and everything, and Shin's about halfway through his magical ritual, I pull out a wand of magic detection and cast it upon the bones.
That is awesome. Wow, what is that? What does that do?
It's a magic wand that shows if anything's magic or not.
Well, I don't see it if it's magic. You said hocus pocus, alakazam. I don't see if it's magic. So they're not magic, are they?
And they're not glowing to you, so they're not illuminating any. So good.
Nope, they're not.
Poor Kalash, man, going through all the details of putting a ritual together, and then all of a sudden, here comes
So
Bear.
I'm gonna finish off, but as I'm doing so, I'm gonna look around the room for some just random trinket that kind of sitting there collecting dust that's in his store, and then when I finish the ritual, I'm gonna go. Yes, I concur with in that there's no magic rating, but you may wish to know that said trinket over there is glowing and distracting over to some random object that is non-magical.
Yeah, the only non-magical stuff you see are all the items that are on you. I mean, everything in this place is non-magical.
So I'm gonna pretend to the guy that there's one of his random trinkets is slightly magical, and he should pay more attention to it, and rather than let it collecting dust, and he's got something more valuable than he realizes.
Oh, you mean the foot of this chicken?
Yes, there's a faint glow. Obviously, some necromancers put some sort of magic onto it when they took the chicken foot off. It might grant some sort of boon. I'm not exactly sure what, so I'd keep that safe, and rather than losing it.
My dad gave me this chicken foot, and look, and he said there was some kind of magical power that was stored inside of it, or encased inside of it. That's really cool, because my dad got this at a junk store one time, and his motto was, one guy's junk is always someone else's treasure. And I really believe that.
Hit the jackpot when he picked that one up, didn't he?
Oh boy!
So I'd keep that one safe, and I'd keep that close to you, so it never gets stolen by the odd pickpocket around the area.
Opens up that little chest where he pulled out the human toe bones, and he puts it in. And he even tells you, he goes, "Hey, are you interested in these toe bones? For another 5 silver, you can even keep them and the jar, because I don't need them anymore."
Yeah, they may be handy. They may be handy for further down the line, comparing them to other ones that we may find if we find anything else later when we travel off.
Nice. So he takes he definitely takes the money, that's for sure.
Basically, taking his interest away from the bones and putting it on something else and pretending it's magical, so he didn't really want the bones anymore.
Nice. Alright. Very good. Holy crap. Marcus, you've got so many weapon actions on your sheet. That's crazy.
I do, yeah.
Look at that.
So Marcus yells from the outside, "Are you done looking at them damn bones now? I got us signed out, let's go."
Okay, yeah, we'll start making a move. Thank you very much, have a good day.
Yeah, really nice to meet you again, Kalash. Anytime you come back and you want to do some of that magic again, even though you got kind of, sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but you kind of got showed up by your buddy there with the wand.
Yeah, I forgot he had that wand, but hey,
I'm just kind of chuckle.
And he says, go ahead go ahead and sign the book on your way out. And
I
he
already
walks
did
up.
it. Let's go. I already did it.
And he goes, all right, everybody. Anybody else that signs it? He's looking at
Got
the
you all
log.
written down. Buster,
Oh.
let's go.
Oh,
Rusty,
wow.
come on.
All right, everybody heads out, and he's looking at the book, and he goes, and you can hear him kind of talking light.
He says, all right, let's see who signed the book. He goes, B.A.Ho, Sal T-Rection, Rusty Cunts, Pete, or is it Pedophile, Buster Hyman? Whoa, those are, these guys are pranksters, huh? Yeah.
Sign mine, Johnny Long Schlong.
I'm surprised you didn't write down the bathroom bandit.
All right, so you guys go back out into the town square. Now, a couple of you are approached by your faction. So, if you are, I believe that Shen, you're Order of the Gauntlet, are you?
No, I'm
Emerald Enclave, that's it.
yeah, Emerald.
So-
Enclave.
All right, so who all is part of the Order of the Enclave?
Nope.
Anybody? Sorry, Order of the Gauntlet. Anybody Order of the Gauntlet?
Yeah.
Okay, Order of the Enclave. That's like the best of both worlds right there, huh? All right, so if you are part of the Order of the Gauntlet, a man comes up to you, a male half-orc, and you kind of do a double take, and that's you, Kel, right, Kel?
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of, so a very large half-orc hand kind of is put on your shoulder, and you kind of turn around and you kind of look up, and it is a half-orc. And you know this guy right off the bat. His name is Zern Zerkstill. And you know this guy, he's got the nickname he's been in the Order of the Gauntlet for a long time, many years, and his nickname is the Hammer of Impilter. And this guy is a badass. And he says, all right, fellow brother, I've got a job for you. And he kind of pulls you aside. He goes, excuse me, brothers, I've got some words that I have to have with one of my fellow Order brothers. He could see your, insignia on your cloak or your armor. And he kind of pulls you off to the side. And he
How
says,
may I help you with that, Zen?
he says, let me tell you something, brother. The Order of the Gauntlet, we're going to need you. We are very concerned, brother, of these cults in the Moonsea region.
Is this Hulk Hogan?
No. Good old Zern says, I believe I've gotten word from several of the other merchants that, brother, you've been going around the city asking questions of these raids that are happening along the coast. And the Order of the Gauntlet, brother, knows that the town of Flan is not taking precautions.
That is why we stepped in, because we thought that something needed to be done, because there's obviously something heading this way, and somebody needed to try and step up to protect Flan.
Well, that's a good thing that we have you in the Order of the Gauntlet, brother, because there's something more infernal to these rumors than just swinging down a couple of pints of Quill and Twill and all this other piss that you're drinking. But I'm telling you what, brother, the rumors are these things are probably going to be undead. And
That's what we've deduced as well. There is some sort of undead involved.
yes, brother, come a little bit closer. And he kind of pulls you in a little bit, and you can start to smell his half-orc breath, And he says, let me tell you, brother. And he pulls out this fucking hand axe that, shines as soon as he pulls it out, and it looks like he's going to strike you with it. And he says, I want you to take this silver axe, brother, and I want you to kill any of those vampires or anything Brother, kill some vampires with this thing. I want you to take this silver axe. This is the hammer of